In this period, God's kingdom will be established on this planet, but before that, the total destruction of Satan's visible and invisible organization must take place. This is what Jehovah God reveals now for all mankind, in order to give a chance to the people of goodwill to position themselves for salvation through the near Battle of Armageddon. To better understand the prophecy, it must be known that in 607 BCE, a pivotal event unfolded. The people of Israel, chosen by God, repeatedly ignored His commandments. Despite warnings from prophets, they turned away from divine guidance. As a result, Jehovah God allowed Babylon, under King Nebuchadnezzar, to conquer Jerusalem. This marked the end of a visible representation of God's rulership on earth, as described in Ezekiel 21:26-27. With its victory, Nebuchadnezzar felt himself to be the ruler of all earth. But in short time, Jehovah sent him a message, a prophecy in his dream, Daniel 4:10-17. Although the dream was also related to Nebuchadnezzar's rulership, the dream has been recorded for us because it reveals the true history of what really happened at the beginning of mankind, that explains why evil, disease, wars, injustice, crimes, and death exists today. In his dream, Nebuchadnezzar saw a magnificent tree that provided shelter and sustenance for all creatures. But a divine decree commanded that the tree be cut down, leaving only its trunk bound with iron and copper for a period of 7 times. The initial tree regarding the small fulfillment is related with the fact that Nebuchadnezzar manifested rulership over Babylon and seemed to be the greatest ruler in the entire earth, especially after 607 BCE. The initial tree regarding the larger fulfillment is related with the fact that over earth and over the first pair of humans, the beautiful cherub Lucifer, or Hallel, was appointed to be the invisible ruler included in the higher authorities. His responsibility and duty was to provide a divine and perfect rulership in order to make sure that mankind will multiply and evolve into a perfect and happy society, all in harmony with God's will. Nebuchadnezzar was blinded by his pride and ambition and did not obey God's commandments. While walking on the top of his royal palace and looking at the greatness of his empire, he rebelliously boasted himself toward Jehovah, saying, "Is this not Babylon the Great that I myself have built for the royal house by my own strength and might and for the glory of my majesty?" While the word was yet in the king's mouth, a voice came down from the heavens. "To you it is being said, O King Nebuchadnezzar, the kingdom has gone away from you." Daniel 4:30-31. Thus, the divine judgment took his rulership away. In the larger fulfillment, after cherub Lucifer was appointed the invisible ruler over man and earth, he began to manifest pride and ambition against Jehovah God. He boasted himself and challenged the position of his father by rebelling against his authority and dominion. This was soon after perfect man appeared on earth, in Eden's paradise. Thus Hallel, or Lucifer, became Satan, meaning opposer, antagonist. With this rebellion, he couldn't execute his plan alone, needing to turn others, both angels and men, into opposers like him. Deviously, he claimed Jehovah wasn't alone in godship, that others could be gods too. They shouldn't be held back, but had a right to develop as such. He further asserted Jehovah's sovereignty over the universe, including Earth, was just nominal. It was propaganda, not fact. Others could create their own worlds, forcing Jehovah to keep away from them. Lucifer argued that they were merely submitting to Jehovah under a misunderstanding. If they recognized their opportunities and asserted themselves, they'd leave Jehovah's organization. Thus, Satan challenged Jehovah's domination and deceived many to his side. It was then and there, at that rebellion, that Lucifer was cut away from the higher authorities, from his initial appointed position. God could have destroyed him then, but that would not have settled the issue raised by Lucifer. For the whole situation to be clarified and settled, time was required in order for everyone to understand and see the consequences. The tree was cut, but the trunk was permitted to exist tight with bands of copper and iron for 7 times, after which a tree will be restored. In the fulfillment regarding Nebuchadnezzar, this meant 7 literal years of literal madness in which he was cast away and was living like animals on the field. In the larger fulfillment, after Lucifer was cut, and after he took with him into rebellion many spiritual beings and also the first pair of humans, the permitted existence of the trunk represented Jehovah's purpose to provide an organization or a new tree by and through which obedient mankind might be restored to the original plan. The prophecy foretold that within the long period of time from when Lucifer was cut from the higher authorities and until a rightful ruler will be established that will recognize Jehovah's authority, there will be a fixed period of 7 prophetic times. The iron and copper bands means that man would be under the restraining rule of the wicked spirit creatures, pictured by copper, and also under earthly rule of imperfect men, pictured by iron. The trunk with bands of copper and iron shows the inactivity or absence of God's kingdom on earth. From the time when Lucifer rebelled, there was at times on earth a typical representation of God's kingdom, like Melchizedek and other judges and kings of Israel representing God's kingdom. Until the total absence of the typical kingdom of God on earth, the 7 times could not begin. With the overthrowing of the last king of Judah and the desolation of the country in 607 BCE, the absence of any typical kingdom of God on earth began. Jesus referred to this special period of time as the times of the Gentiles. Luke 21:23, 24. According to the prophecy, this time starts in 607 BCE and ends when a new rightful ruler is established as high authority or rightful king of the earth. In Revelation 12:6-14, it is shown that 1,260 days are a time, times, and half a time, meaning 3.5 times, which is half of 7 times. Therefore, 7 times is twice 1260 days, namely 2520 days. While Noah was in the ark, he counted 150 days during which the waters were above the earth, describing them as 5 months, with each month having 30 days. Genesis 7:11-24, Genesis 8:3-4. Therefore, 2,520 days would be equal to 84 months, which means 7 years. This corresponds to Nebuchadnezzar's dream in which his madness lasted for 7 times. In complete fulfillment, 7 times must be more than 2,520 literal days. Both Ezekiel and Daniel were inspired to discover the calculation of time according to the divine rule. I give you a day for each year. Ezekiel 4:6-8. Therefore, each day of the 2,520, according to the calculation from Daniel's prophecy, is a year. By the same rule, the 7 times or times of the Gentiles are 2,520 years. In the fulfillment related to Nebuchadnezzar, after 7 literal years, the rulership over Babylon was restored and its ruler recognized Jehovah's authority. In the larger fulfillment after the passing of the 7 prophetic times, that started in 607 BCE, Jesus, the Christ of God, must be enthroned as King in heavens to rule over the earth in the midst of his enemies. It then follows that by adding the 7 times, that is 2,520 literal years. The 7 prophetic times ends in 1914 CE. In that year, a war in heaven was started by Jesus Christ, the enthroned King, and then Satan with his rebelled angels were cast out from heaven to earth. Revelation 12:7-12. Since that time until the present, the King has carried out a campaign of educational salvation by sending his witnesses to the nations and peoples of the world with the message about God's kingdom and the complete destruction of the political, religious, and commercial systems in the Battle of Armageddon.